Yes, people, welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Dillon, owner of TMT, and over the past 4 years, I've generated tens of millions of dollars for creators and OnlyFans. And in this video, I'm going to be going through some of the reasons to why your fans might not be spending on OF. So let's get straight into it. Right, so the first thing that we always look at is, does the back end and front end correlate? And now what I mean by this is understanding the journey of the fan and what the fan sees. Because if the fan isn't spending within your chats, you're probably not sending him the right things. Okay, so you have to understand that the fan will see you on social media, then we'll go over to your OF and either see content within your feed or your DMs. So whatever you're selling within your feed or your DMs has to correlate. There needs to be a continuation of that content into your DMs. Now, this video is about the specifics of actual chatting and the psychology behind it, okay? Now, this is granted that your marketing is good and you are bringing in subscribers, because this is where this gets really important. So one of our creators at our agency has a 50 LTV, and what LTV means is lifetime value of a fan. Now, if you're with an agency and your agency owner isn't giving you these kind of stats, that's not good, because then they're not tracking that, okay? And if you don't track, you don't care. So you should be asking for that. 50 is very good. Anywhere between 20 to 30, I think, is the average, but 50 is very impressive. And one of the ways that we did this is by continuing on the brand that she had on her socials. So the content that we were pushing out on her feed and specifically into the DMs, into the chats, that was all based around the stuff that she was going most viral for on her socials. So there was a continuation of brand. So every fan that came in, we were filtering out the ones that were wasting time, and we were getting the high value, lifetime value fans, the fans that you want. Right, so the next thing I want to talk about is context, and more specifically, every single pay-per-view that you sell needs to have some kind of context behind it. Now, people think, right, that just because someone buys your content, that means that was a good thing. Now, if someone's buying something just because they think they're getting a bargain from it, whenever you try and upsell or sell anything later, they're always going to be comparing the price, and you do not want to be doing that. You do not want people comparing your price, right? That is terrible. And how you stop that is by adding context, adding a storyline. Now, more specifically, you have scripts and you have them one-off purchases, but more so with the scripts, there has to be a storyline behind it. This is the context. So now if you were to watch a movie, you don't just sit down and it goes in the intro and then straight into the action. There's a full storyline behind it. Now, the better you can do this within your chats, I don't know if it's you chatting on your account or if you have chatters on your account, but they should be building storylines behind all your scripts. And then when you are making scripts, you can now make them even better, because you yourself as the model, you understand the storyline. If you're just thinking making scripts and half-arsing, the content you're making, that's going to affect massively with how valuable that content really is. And this is what you need to think about when you are selling with context. You aren't talking about the price of things. There's nothing worse than being at speaking to a fan and it's like a bidding war of, can you do 20? No, I can do 30 or whatever, You don't want to be doing that. You want to be talking about something else where price is the last thing they think about. And the best way to do that is by adding context. The same goes with one-off purchases. Even if people just want to see tapes and stuff like that, try and get creative around that. Try and use as much as the storyline as you can, the frameworks that you will have eventually, the more you do it, into these one-off purchases, because then even when they have a choice of, right, I've got £40, £50, $100, whatever, where is this one purchase best spent? They're going to come back to you because you're providing something that other creators aren't, when they're just selling quick pay-per-views without any context behind it. So context, make sure you add that in within your chats and it will get them to spend a lot more. Right, so the next thing we need to understand is, what do the fans actually want? Now, there's two ways to do this. So there's either understanding the vault, so you can control the conversation, or actually just knowing what the fan wants. So with vault understanding, this is more so understanding what content do you have and what scenarios, and go back to the previous board of what story can you tell within the content that's already in the vault. So that's the first thing, right? Because then this gives you control of the conversation. There's nothing worse than talking to a fan and he's leading it down a conversation that you want to see certain types of content that you can't currently provide him. You do not want that. But if you are understanding the vault and maybe there's a shower script, you can start off by saying, I'm going into the shower in 15 minutes or whatever, right? That sets up the conversation in a way where you have the content, and this is where you can be smart with the storytelling. Make it seem as if it's happening there and then. This is just basic script selling, but understanding the vault will actually help you understand what the fan wants, because then you are not trying to sell stuff that you don't have. Number two is the right way, and the way that is going to have the biggest impact is actually just listening to the fan and writing down notes. So notes is the big point here. The more information you have on these people, the better it's going to be for you, okay? It's going to be very hard for you to sell to somebody, because that's what you're trying to do within the messages, is sell something, right? Sell content, sell pay-per-views. And the more you know about the guy, the more you know about the fan. I'm talking about like serious detail, not just where he's from, what his name is. Go into like sports teams, go into like the name of his dog, when does he take his dog for a walk, stuff like this, right? Go like proper into detail, because then this is the type of stuff that he's going to tell you specifically the type of stuff that he likes, and obviously then you can get creative. And if you have a lot of these people wanting the same type of content, you create more of that content, because then you can just sell to the people that you already know they want that type of content. So this is very important when it comes to making money in chats and understanding how to get your fans to spend, because like I said in a previous point, you're probably selling something that they don't want to see. Now that is a problem, okay? So understanding what you actually have available already, and then obviously understanding preferences and really getting into knowing them as a person is going to make it a lot easier for you to sell to these fans. Right, so the last thing I want to talk about is kind of just tying everything in together and understanding that your chat team are actually doing the things that they are supposed to be doing, because a lot of you have chatters on, but you don't actually have a chat team, okay? So obviously the first thing is 24/7. Now this is very common. A lot of creators do have 24/7 chatting, but for the creators that don't, you are literally missing out on so much money, because 80% of your money is generated within the DMs. So why would you not want your shop technically to be open 24/7? That's obviously going to make you a lot more money. But these are the three things that every chat team must have. So let's just go into them one by one. The first thing is a consistent tone, okay? So if your chatters on your account, you can tell that there's different chatters on your account at different times. That is terrible, because fans will obviously see that. There are fans that are going to message you in the morning and on the night time, and if you sound like a completely different human using different language, lingo, that is terrible. You need to have a consistent tone within your chat team, and the way you do that is by having information of the actual creator itself, and then just week on week drilling that within the chat team, having meetings, pulling up times where maybe the chatter hasn't used the correct tonality, and you can tell it's a bit, you know, there's like a chat team on the account. We'll bring that stuff up within meetings. We'll have weekly meetings, daily meetings. We'll have a chat manager that will go through all of the chats and look for stuff that is, you know, not appropriate or acceptable to our agency, and we'll get that fixed. But having a consistent tone is something that is huge, and if your chat team doesn't have that, they'll burn you money. The second thing is shift handovers. Now this is more so notes, okay, and timing of these handovers. When you go on when you go on your account and you see that there's chats left for hours and hours, when you go on your chat and you just see like loads of messages left unread for hours on end, that is terrible. That's usually a time when chatters are changing shifts, and that needs to be faster, okay? And within those shift handovers, what essentially you are doing is relaying all the information that, you know, you've had from your shift, if you're a chatter, handing over, and then you are giving out as much information as you possibly can of what's happened. So this is stuff like the whales on your account. What have they been saying? What have they been spending? What have they been talking about? And how has the conversation been? And then you have your mid-tier spenders, which any ones that are looking like they are gonna spend, we have information on that, kind of let the other chatter know this is the score with this guy, and we incentivize them to do so. So we call that an assist. If you write down something in the notes and the next chatter that is on the next shift gets that person to spend, you will actually get a percentage of that pay-per-view as well. And that goes on to the third point, which is pay-per-view timing. Your team, they need to be on the same team, because there's nothing worse than having one chatter on one shift and he is getting all the money because he's just spamming pay-per-views. That means you have two other chatters and two other time slots within your day where you are not making money. Just because you make a few thousand in one shift, that actually might hurt your overall shift, because you could just make consistent thousands within your day, right? And the way you have that is by understanding that, or your team, sorry, they need to understand pay-per-view timing. Everyone's on the same team here. So like I said before, we incentivize our chatters. So if our chatters set up a script for the nighttime chatter on the nighttime shift, then they will also get a percentage for that. That is crucial, right? You do not want to be on your OF account and start seeing patterns of money getting made between specific times, because that means all them other times there's money there's money that could be made and isn't getting made because of the pay-per-view timing. But other than that, that is everything that we look at to understand why fans aren't spending if they aren't on certain accounts. Hopefully this has helped you guys within the video. If it has, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.